Her father didn't give her a wedding. He traded her for 2 sacks of coal and a man who lived where the land stopped pretending to be kind. The wind came down from the mountains like it had something to prove. Cold, sharp, unforgiving. It cut through fabric, through skin, through anything that wasn't strong enough to resist it. Hilaire Voss leaned into it. 19, and already carrying more weight than most men twice her age. 2 burlap sacks of coal dragged at her arms, her fingers numb, raw against the rough weave. And strapped to her back, everything her father had decided she was worth. Not what she needed, what he didn't. A burden, sent away to become someone else's problem. She didn't stop walking. Stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant remembering. That was worse than the cold. The cabin appeared slowly, not rising from the land, but pressed into it. Low, dark, built to survive, not to be seen. A logging outpost, the kind of place men passed through, not stayed in. Thin smoke climbed from a crooked chimney. The only sign anything inside was still alive. She adjusted the weight, tightened her grip, kept moving. No hesitation, no expectation, just arrival. The door opened before she reached it. He was already there, Rowan Hale, standing still like he had always been part of the place. Tall, broad, not imposing, but immovable. His face cut from years of wind and work. His eyes cold gray, like the sky before a storm. He didn't greet her, didn't ask her name, didn't look surprised. Just looked. At the coal first, of course, then at the weight on her back, then finally at her. A long moment passed, silent, measured, like he was deciding what she was worth. She stepped forward, held out the sacks, an offering, a transaction, the last thing her father had given her to give away. Rowan didn't take them, not yet. Instead, he stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the heat he carried with him. His hands moved behind her, finding the leather straps cutting into her shoulders. Before she could react, he unbuckled them, lifted the entire load off her back. The weight disappeared, suddenly, completely. Her body shifted, unbalanced without it. He set the bundle down beside the door. Only then did he take the coal. His fingers brushed hers, calloused, warm, unexpected, real. Inside, one word, low, final. Not an invitation, a direction. She stepped past him into the cabin. The inside was colder than she expected. Not empty, but stripped down to what mattered. A hearth, a table, 2 chairs, 2 cots. Tools hung in careful order along the wall. Everything used, everything maintained. Nothing wasted. She stood near the door, waiting, for instruction, for terms, for something. He moved past her, set the coal near the fire, added a piece of wood, watched the flame take it. Then, without turning, he spoke. "That cot is yours." Simple, No discussion, no negotiation. She nodded, didn't thank him, didn't ask questions. She understood the rules already. Make yourself useful. Take up no space. Earn what you keep. The water bucket sat half empty near the door. She noticed it immediately. Of course she did. Work always revealed itself to those who needed it. She picked it up, paused, waited. He gave a slight nod. That was enough. She stepped back outside. The wind hit harder now. Without the weight, she felt it fully. But this time, she didn't lean away. She walked through it, toward the well, toward the work, toward whatever this place was going to demand of her. Inside, Rowan stood by the fire, listening to her footsteps fade into the distance. Then silence again. The kind he was used to, the kind he trusted. But not the same. Not any more. Not any more. Silence changes when it isn't yours alone. The first night passed without words. No questions, no introductions, just the fire and the space between them. Ilara sat on the edge of her cot, back straight, hands folded, waiting. Not for permission, for pattern. Every place had one. You just had to learn it before it learned you. Across the room, Rowan worked, knife in hand, sharpening, slow, precise. The scrape of steel on stone cut through the quiet, steady, measured, unchanging, like everything else about him. He didn't look at her, didn't acknowledge her presence, but he knew exactly where she was. Men like him always did. When the blade was done, he set it aside, poured water into a small pot, set it over the fire. Salted meat, beans, nothing more, nothing extra. Food that kept you alive, not food that made you forget you were struggling. He filled one bowl, set it on the table, then another, across from it. No gesture, no invitation, just placement. A rule. Sit. Eat. She understood. Of course she did. She moved quietly, took the seat, waited. He sat after her. Only then did she lift the spoon. A small thing, but important. Everything here had order. They ate in silence. The fire cracked. Wind pressed against the walls. The world outside, empty. Inside, barely more. But enough. Enough to continue. She ate slowly, carefully, not wasting a drop, not rushing, not asking for more. He watched. Not directly, but he saw it. Every movement, every decision. That was the test. Not strength, not words. Control. When the bowls were empty, she stood, took both, carried them to the bucket, used a small amount of water, just enough, cleaned them, dried them, placed them back exactly where they had been, not where she thought they belonged, where they had been. That mattered. He noticed, of course he did, but said nothing. The fire burned low. The night deepened, cold pressing in again. She lay down, pulled the thin blanket over herself, turned toward the wall, making herself smaller, taking up less space. Survival instinct. Across the room, Rowan remained seated, watching the fire, thinking, not about her, not directly, but about what she had shown, the way she moved, the way she waited, the way she didn't ask. Most people did. They asked. They took. She didn't. That mattered more than anything else. He stood, moved quietly, lifted a heavy canvas coat from a peg near the door, worn, thick, used in the worst weather. He crossed the room, slow, careful. She didn't move, didn't react, but she wasn't asleep. He knew that. She knew he knew. Neither acknowledged it. Another rule. He placed the coat over her blanket, not adjusting it, not touching her, just adding weight, adding warmth, then stepped back, returned to his side of the room, sat, like nothing had happened. But something had, something small, something irreversible. A line had shifted. Morning came early, before light, before warmth, before anything that made the world easier. He was already up, boots on, gear in place. She heard it, opened her eyes, didn't move, watched. He took his coat, paused, just for a second, then left. No word, no sound beyond the door closing. Gone. She sat up, the coat still around her, heavy, warm, real. She touched the fabric, rough, weathered, protected. Not kindness, not yet. Something else. She stood, wrapped her scarf, reached for the bucket. Work waited, always. Outside, the cold bit harder, the well handle frozen, ice clinging to metal. She broke it, pulled, lifted, again, again, again. No hesitation, no complaint, just movement. By the time he returned, the wood was stacked, the water filled, the floor swept clean, the fire ready. He stopped in the doorway, looked, took it in, every detail, every choice, every sign of what she had decided to be. Useful. She didn't look up, didn't wait for approval, didn't need it. The test had begun, and she already understood how it would be judged. The test was never spoken, but it was everywhere, in the way he moved, in the way he watched, in the way nothing here was ever given twice. Days settled into rhythm, not comfort, not ease, routine. Cold mornings, hard work, long silences. Ilara learned quickly where the wood was kept, how much to cut and how much to save, how to bank the fire so it would last the night, how to move through the cabin without making sound, how to exist without asking to be seen. Rowan noticed everything. Of course he did. The way she used less water than he expected. The way she mended his torn shirt, not to hide the damage, but to make it stronger. The way she stacked wood, not neatly, but efficiently, like someone who had done this before, like someone who understood loss. He never praised her, never corrected her, never interfered. That was part of it, the space, the distance, the question left hanging. Will you stay this way when no one is watching? One afternoon the wind shifted, not colder, sharper, carrying something else with it, sound, distant, rhythmic, not natural, hoofbeats. Rowan stopped mid-motion, knife in hand, still listening. He knew that sound, didn't like it. Ilara looked up, not asking, just watching him, reading the change. That was new, that awareness. She was learning him now. The horse came into view over the ridge, dark, strong, too well fed for this place. The man riding it, too well dressed, heavy coat, clean leather, confidence that didn't belong to the land, but to ownership. He didn't slow as he approached, didn't hesitate, didn't question. Men like that never did. Rowan stepped outside, closed the door behind him, a barrier, not to keep the man out, but to keep her in. Safe for now. Ilara didn't stay back, not completely. She moved to the edge of the door, close enough to hear, close enough to see, not hiding, not exposed, positioned. The rider dismounted, boots hitting snow with deliberate weight. He looked at the cabin, at the land, then at Rowan. A slow smile formed, not friendly, assessing. Rowan Hale. The name rolled off his tongue like something already owned. Didn't expect you to still be clinging to this place. Rowan didn't respond, didn't step forward, didn't offer anything, just stood, still, solid, unmovable. The man's eyes shifted to the door, to the shadow behind it, to Ilara. And something changed. Interest, sharp, unpleasant. Well now, a slow step forward. Didn't know you'd taken on cargo. The word landed hard, deliberate. Ilara felt it, recognized it. She had been called worse. Rowan moved then, just enough, positioning himself between the man and the door. What do you want? Flat, direct, no room for anything else. The man chuckled, looked around again. This land, a casual gesture, dismissive. It's wasted on you. A beat. I'll take it. Not an offer, a statement. Name your price. Rowan didn't move. Not for sale. The smile thinned. Everything about the man tightened slightly. Everything's for sale. A step closer. Especially things that can't hold their own. His gaze slid again, past Rowan, to her, lingering, measuring. I'll make it easier for you. A pause. Take the land. Another. And the girl. Silence. Heavy. Cold. Familiar. Too familiar. Ilara's hand tightened at her side. Not fear, recognition. The same world, different place. Rowan spoke, quieter than before. she stays. No emphasis, no force, just fact. The man laughed, short, sharp. You don't get to decide that. His hand drifted toward his belt, not fully, but enough. A warning, a test of his own, inside. Ilara moved, not back, forward. She stepped out, into the open, into the cold, beside Rowan, not behind him, not protected, standing, equal. Her hand reached down, closing around a piece of split wood from the pile near the wall, not raised, not threatened, held, present, real. Her eyes met the man's, steady, unflinching, not for sale. The moment stretched, long, uncertain. The man looked between them. Something flickered, confusion, calculation, something he hadn't expected. Resistance. He stepped back, not defeated, not finished, just delayed. You'll regret this. A promise, not a threat. He mounted, turned the horse, rode off, fast, like he had already set something in motion. Silence returned, but not the same, never the same. Rowan didn't move, didn't look at her, but he knew what she had done, what she had chosen. The test had changed. The test was no longer his alone. Now the world had stepped into it, and the rules had changed. That night the cold came harder, not from the wind, from what followed it. Silence, too complete, too still, the kind that comes before something breaks. Ilara didn't sleep, not really. Her body lay still, but her mind listening, counting, waiting. That was the difference now. Before, she endured. Now, she expected. The sound came late, not loud, not obvious. A shift, a crack, wood under pressure. She sat up instantly, eyes on the door. Nothing. Then the smell. Smoke. Wrong. Too sharp, too fast. She moved, crossed the room, opened the door, and heat rushed in. The woodpile, burning. Flames climbing fast through dry timber. Deliberate. Set. Not an accident. Rowan was already outside. Of course he was, moving through the firelight like it belonged to him. He didn't panic, didn't shout, just acted, pulling logs away, kicking dirt over flame, controlling it. Ilara grabbed a bucket, ran to the well, broke the ice with force, pulled, spilled water over fire, again, again. Not told, not asked, just done. The children stayed inside, silent, watching through cracks in the wood, learning something they would carry forever. Fire doesn't negotiate. It took time, effort, control, but eventually the flames died, leaving behind char, smoke, and a message burned into the ground. Rowan stood still, looking at it, reading it. Hollister. Not a guess, a certainty. Elara stepped beside him, breathing hard, hands raw from cold and work. She didn't ask, didn't need to. Her eyes moved across the damage, the fire, the land, the cabin. Everything they had, fragile, exposed, targeted. What happens now? Her voice quiet, steady, different. No fear in it, only question, real. Rowan didn't answer immediately, didn't look at her. His gaze stayed on the ground, on what had been done, on what would follow. They escalate. Simple. Final. She nodded once. Understood. Of course she did. This wasn't over. It had just begun. She turned, walked back toward the cabin, not retreating, preparing. She gathered what remained, restacked wood, checked tools, measured what they had left, what they could lose, what they could defend. No wasted movement, no wasted thought. Rowan watched her, really watched her. Not the work, the decision behind it, the shift. Before, she survived. Now, she stayed. Chose to stay. He stepped inside, moved to the wall where his tools hung. His hand passed over the worn, ordinary pieces, then stopped. On one thing that didn't belong. The axe. Dark steel, perfect balance, sharp enough to end more than wood. Elara had seen it before, noticed it, understood it didn't fit. Now she understood why. It wasn't for work. Rowan lifted it, tested the weight. Familiar, practiced, controlled. Not a tool, a choice. He turned, looked at her. No distance left, no silence to hide behind. You stand your ground, you hold it. Not advice, not comfort, a rule, the only one that mattered now. She met his gaze, didn't hesitate, didn't look away. Understood. Outside, the smoke drifted upward, slow, unseen beyond the ridge, but not unnoticed, not forgotten. Somewhere out there, a man believed he had already won. He was wrong. He was wrong, not because he underestimated the land, but because he misunderstood the people standing on it. Morning came clean, too clean, the kind of sky that pretends nothing happened, blue, endless, cold. The smoke from the burned woodpile had already thinned, but the mark remained, black against white, a warning, a line drawn. Elara stood beside it, looking, not at the damage, at what it meant. This wasn't survival anymore. This was choice. Rowan stepped out behind her. No rush, no tension in his movement. But something had shifted, subtle, decisive. He didn't go to the fire, didn't check the damage again. He turned toward the ridge, the one that closed the valley in. Come. One word, different this time. Not a command, an invitation. She didn't hesitate, didn't question. She called the children, wrapped them, followed. Forward, the climb was harder now, snow deeper, air thinner. But she didn't slow, didn't fall behind, didn't ask where they were going. She had already decided to go. They reached the top as the sun cleared the mountains, light spilling across the ridge, turning everything gold. Rowan stopped, waited, not for her to catch up, for her to stand beside him, equal. She stepped forward, joined him, and the world opened. Below them, not emptiness, not survival, something else. Forest, deep, endless, timber stretching across the valley like a living wall, cut lines, precise, orderly, paths carved through the trees, not by chance, by design. Smoke rising in the distance, not from one cabin, but many, structures hidden between the trees, storage yards, teams moving like ants through something vast. Not poverty, power. Elara didn't speak, couldn't. Her eyes moved, taking it in, connecting it, the axe, the silence, the test, everything. It had never been nothing. Rowan watched her, not the valley, her, waiting. This is mine. No pride, no boast, just truth. My family built it. A beat. They protect it by not showing it. His gaze shifted briefly, back toward the cabin below. The shack, a pause, is where I learn what a person does when they think there's nothing to gain. He looked at her again, direct, unhidden. You stayed. Not praise, recognition. She held his gaze, didn't look away, didn't shrink. I chose to. Simple, final. Her answer, the children stepped forward, drawn to the movement below, to life, to something more. Rowan watched them, then looked back at her, everything unspoken settling between them. No transaction, no trade, no price. A decision. This place, he gestured toward the valley, needs more than one person to hold it. A pause. And I won't build it with someone who takes. Silence. Wind moving softly across the ridge. But with someone who stands. Another pause. With me. Not a question, an offer. Real, equal. Elara looked at the valley, at the scale, the weight of it, then back at him, at the man who had given her nothing to see if she would become something. She understood now, all of it, the cold, the silence, the fire, the choice. She gave a single nod, slow, certain. Yes. Not quiet, not small. Equal. Below them, the forest moved with life, work, purpose, future. Behind them, the burned woodpile still marked the ground, a reminder of what had been tested and what had survived. Rowan turned, started down the ridge, not leading, not followed, walking beside her, together. For the first time, this wasn't a place she had been sent. It was a place she had chosen. And that made all the difference.